Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to the last event of Disability Equity Week. Super exciting. Um, yeah, so thank you for coming. You might see some familiar faces if you came to the session on Monday about disability eye care. We have all three of the same presenters here to do a roundtable discussion. How the discussion will work, it's similar to like a panel, but a little more interactive. So we do really ask anyone on the Zoom chat, you don't mind staying muted, but if you have any questions at any time, please post them. We'll have Carrie, who's moderating for us, just let us know and we'll get to your questions. Just a quick kind of present the presenters if you weren't here on Monday. We have Sydney Davis here in person, and we also have Carrie Evans and Dominic Casola on Zoom. Also, just like all the other sessions we've had, we will have a short survey. We'll post it in the chat, and then for people in person, we have a written form as well. And one final thing, if you enjoyed Disability Equity Week, we actually are having several events, smaller version next semester. So it'll be April 5th, will be that week. And on the 9th, the only like session we have confirmed right now is showing the Peanut Butter Falcon with SAC. It's a film that features an actor who has Down syndrome. And so it's really great. And we'll have a short little panel of students sharing their perspective as well. So without further ado, I think we'll get started. Yeah, thanks for coming. To begin, I'll first have each of the panelists kind of answer their name, what grade they're in, what they're studying, and if they feel comfortable, what type of disability they have. You want to start?
Yeah, so my name is Sydney Davis. I'm a junior history education major. I'm getting a minor in criminology. And I have a physical disability as well as a few mental conditions.
Okay. My name is Carrie. I am a senior. I am studying psychology, gerontology with a minor in diversity studies. I have a bunch of different ones, but easiest ones to do is I have seizures, I have lung disorders, mobility, and a bunch of other stuff.
My name is Dominic Casola, and I'm a sophomore. I'm an elementary education major. My disabilities kind of stem from me having kind of a speech impediment. I kind of had one when I was younger, worked out of it a little bit, but still kind of have that, I think. I also really struggle with like spelling and proofreading a lot and get accommodations for that. So that's pretty much it for me, my disabilities.
And then I'll also kind of fill you all in. I also have a disability, so I feel like I might as well answer. My name is Austin Carter. I'm a GI. Studying to the third for higher education, and I'm EPT. So we'll kind of move on to the second question. Do you ever feel like people have assumptions about you based on your disability? If so, what are those assumptions?
Yeah, first off, I don't look disabled, so people usually assume that I'm not, based on my able body. And then when they find out that I do have a physical disability, their first thought is usually that I'm faking it or that I'm making it seem worse than it is for attention. That's really hurtful because it completely invalidates all the struggles that I face. And it invalidates like just having a physical disability.
Yeah, I get assumptions unless I'm actually using my walking, my mobility stuff. I don't look sick unless I have actually my oxygen on. And so I get a lot of, oh, you don't look sick. Why are you pretending? Can you prove it? Why do you have a service dog? You don't look sick. Yeah, it's an ongoing thing.
I think I definitely get some assumptions, or have some people that might have some assumptions about me too. Sometimes people think if I mess up, if I mess up when I'm writing something, if it looks like it sometimes looks like I don't go through the effort of proofreading some of my stuff, but literally it's hard for me to see. and people read that and say, oh, you can't spell, you can't, you don't know grammar and stuff like that, which I do. I just don't, I just can't see it in my own work. So that's kind of the assumptions that I kind of have to deal with for myself.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit. I think for me, there's a lot of like people assuming I need help for things, especially when I'm wearing shorts. I can probably understand people don't really recognize I have prosthetics, but when I am, I think a lot of it's like holding the door open, and that's not really wrong, but I think for me, it feels like, I'm like 5 feet away and they're just holding the door for me, and then I feel rushed to like get through the door. So in sometimes those instances, I'd rather walk through and then I'll grab the door on my own. So yeah, awesome. Thanks, Sharon. Third question: do you ever feel pressured to disclose your disability? If so, when?
Yeah, I feel pressured a lot whenever I open up that I have a physical disability, because it doesn't look like it. I feel like there's a lot of pressure for me to explain what it is, how it affects me, and also just to prove that it's like a real thing. I suffer from fibromyalgia, and there's a lot of like debate on if that's even real, which it is. And so just opening up to like friends and stuff about that, and also like at a doctor's office, if I go see a new doctor, there's a lot of pressure to disclose everything and to fight for them to like actually recognize a lot of what I go through as being a physical thing, not that writing it off as like anxiety or something like that.
I didn't hear the question, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Do you ever feel pressured to disclose your disability? If so, when?
Every semester to new professors.
Yeah.
Because it's the assumption that, oh, you look fine, all right, so you shouldn't have any problems. And why do I have this list and I don't know what half of these mean type things.
I kind of have the same thing, where at the start of each semester, I kind of go back and forth if I really need accommodations or not, and is it really worth it for me to like disclose talk to my professor about like my disability and stuff like that, when it could just be wasted energy because I might not even use accommodations in certain classes.
I think for me, because my disability is pretty apparent, I more or less get questions of why do you have an amputation? Sometimes people assume I'm in the military, which for me is kind of funny because I definitely don't look like I was ever in the military, but I've had people in Walmart be like, did you serve? I'm like, no, I didn't. So for me, it's more, I think it's less of me disclosing that I have a disability and more going into the backstory of why I have the amputation. Awesome. Thanks, Sharon. The next question: what are some barriers you experience on campus related to your disability?
I experience barriers at like various events. It's really hard for me to stand for long periods of time. So like one year I went to Bear Bash, and there's like hardly any events where there's seating and you can still be a part of all the fun, and then just like the seating was like pretty limited. So just like stuff like that on campus is really hard for me.
Okay, Austin, you got to speak up again. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. What are some barriers you experienced on campus related to your disability?
Craig Hall. The doors are so small that I cannot, and Liberty's my service dog. We cannot go in together. She has to follow in front of or behind. I know that totally backwards. There's no room. Going into the bathroom stalls, they're the size of for a elementary kid. My walker doesn't fit in the stalls at all. Liberty doesn't fit inside the stalls with me. There's just size for a lot of it. And then a lot of the classrooms that have the different levels, if you have more than just a physical limitations that put you in the front, like I have seizures, so I can't be in the front. I can't go in the back because there's no way to get there other than the stairs. So it's very limiting for me.
Mine is all cognitive, so I really don't face some of the like barriers that our panelists would face on campus.
Um, what are some positive experiences you have had related to your disability?
Probably just like this group is probably the most positive I can think of. This is like one of the only just like Delta Alpha Pi, like in general, it's probably like the one group where I don't feel like the sick girl or like the only one who needs like an accommodation. Like I don't feel weird for like requesting at Monday's event to be able to sit down and present when like group projects or something that I do feel really weird about that. So just being in like this group where like other people share similar experiences, that's probably the most positive.
I'm like Sydney, being around others and who have similar disabilities in which the Delta Alpha Pi, because we all have a type of disability. It's nice being around those who can actually understand, what you're feeling, what you're struggling with, and then to support each other. So that's always a really good thing. The DRC is amazing for helping one of the best ones I worked with in my collegiate career. So yeah.
I would kind of say the same thing about Delta Alpha Pi, and that I've also like been able to connect with certain things, like people coming to, like, we had a disability week at my community college, and someone came and spoke, and he had faced some of the same challenges and stuff like that, and I really relate to some of the stories that people have, and it's inspiring to me when I see that. I also got into the field that I'm going into because of my challenges that I had. When I was in elementary school, I struggled to get by. I hated school. Like, homework was just a pain for me to do and stuff like that. And once I got to high school, I started breaking out of it. And once I got to college, I really started hitting my stride, like in my later semester, or like as I got going, trying to get confidence in myself. And since I had to build confidence, I think that I can really benefit from like being able to relate to different kids who had the same struggles that I did going into my career path and stuff like that. So I think it really helped me in that regard.
We're going to do a quick break. Are there any questions in the chat?
We don't have any questions. We do have a few comments, a couple about audio. Guys, I turned up the volume, so let me know in the chat if that helps. We had a few people saying they're having a hard time hearing you guys.
Yeah,
So
we'll try to speak on it as well. Unfortunately, just working with what we have right now, but that's good feedback for the future.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And then Christina Rosewell wanted everyone to know, I do not have full technical capabilities, can hear and see you, but no camera or microphone for you to see or hear me. I am staffed with a mobility disability. Our department is working on DEI program use. So thank you for sharing that with us, Christina.
Well, we'll just kind of continue on. So kind of following that one on more of a unfortunately negative aspect, what are some negative experiences you have had related to your disability, whether that's like experiencing that with other people or just personally?
When I first got diagnosed with one of my disabilities, I was diagnosed with a class 2 congestive heart failure about a year ago. And when I was first opening up to a friend about that, it felt like she blamed me for getting sick. She was saying things like, well, maybe if you just ate different, or if you would have just exercised in high school. It was like she was saying it was my fault that I was sick and that I was now struggling with a disability. And because of that, now when I struggle with other things or like hard days related to my disability, it's really hard for me to feel like I can't open up to her. Because of that, like just those like couple of comments, because she like turned it all against me. And so it's probably one of like the most negative experiences I've had.
Austin, dear, what was the question?
No, you're fine. What are some negative experiences you have had related to your disability? That can be whether like relating to other people or personally.
Um, I always got, and I still get it, that some of my disabilities I brought upon myself. It's like, it's basically like being told, hey, you did this to yourself, so suck it up and deal with it. And it's not the case. For me, a lot of my conditions are genetics, and I just got the wrong genetics. Or my mobility is from my military service. And I got hurt in there, so that was a little out of my control as well. And then you get the, oh, I don't know how to treat you from the medical community. And then even my family members have a tendency to tell me, oh, you're just faking it. You want the attention, da, 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 instead of like, hey, this is legit. Here's the doctor's reports, here are the witnesses for when I have my seizures and stuff. And a lot of it's the same on campus. I'm sitting listening to lectures of how, oh, this condition could be prevented if they would have done this. And so it's almost like I'm being guilted into thinking, I caused all this when I didn't. So.
I probably have similar experiences with the lack of understanding by people. If I can't like I said earlier, if I can't I can't pick out what I'm reading or what I'm writing or whatever. I can't pick the errors that I have and stuff like that. So it can be kind of challenging for people to see that I'm I can't literally see that. That's part of my disability, and people don't always understand that. Also, there's more of a specific example. When I was in third grade, my teacher did not provide me accommodations at all, and it was a very negative experience. It's just probably the lack of understanding by people. I'd say the biggest negative experiences I've had.
Have you ever had issues with professors not wanting to implement any accommodations? How would you address this?
Our professors have been pretty good. I had one this semester. One of my accommodations is that I get a note taker. And so at the very beginning of the semester, I emailed him asking if he would be willing to reach out to the class, see if anyone would volunteer. And it was like 5 weeks later, and I was still emailing him, if he was going to get one, if he had found one yet. And he still hadn't. So I just took it upon myself to finally I recognized someone that I had in a previous class. I asked them, and luckily they were willing to do it for me. But I just didn't feel comfortable going back to a professor who wasn't listening to me when I had asked them. So.
Yeah, same. I had a professor last semester who just refused. And then I had one who kept calling me out daily because one of mine is hearing. I have to have them wear a microphone so I can actually hear them. And it was an ordeal every class. And it's like, okay, just stop. I'm feeling more uncomfortable trying to get him to do the accommodations than I am by him not doing the accommodations. And then, like Sydney said, this semester I have a couple of professors who do not do the note-taking, partly because of my hearing them, because I just can't hear what they're saying. And they said they sent out an email requesting anybody, and I saw a friend of mine who's had a lot of the same classes with me, and I asked her to do it. So it's a lot of, trying to get the things done myself just because they don't want to.
Luckily, I've been pretty lucky with getting my accommodations in my classes. I've had maybe one professor when I was in community college that wasn't too good, but here at Missouri State, my first semester, I haven't experienced any professors that don't take my accommodations.
Next question, do you ever feel pressured to be an inspiration?
Yeah, actually, I feel like there's a lot of pressure to be like the perfect disabled person. And like that idea is someone who just never lets their disability stop them, who is always so happy and always like positive about it. And I feel like there is a lot of pressure on me to just never like be upset because I can't do certain things or because I'm having a really bad pain day or I can't do this or that. And so yeah, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on me to just always be positive and to never like get upset at my disability.
It's, if you have a bad day, someone's like, oh, are you having a bad day? Or are you always this grumpy and whatnot? I'm like, no, just having a bad day. Or they hear, what's wrong, what the disabilities are, like, oh, how can you do this? You're so inspiring. I'm like, why? Why am I so inspiring? I haven't done anything. I go to school, I come home, do homework and all this. How is that any different from you? But for some reason, having a disability is like, oh, you have to be inspiring to others. You need to write a book or write about your story. And I'm like, why? So
I definitely feel some of the same pressure. Um, I kind of like have self-doubts about myself and like anxiety at like the start of each semester, that I am gonna like maintain my GPA and stuff like that, like, and have like keep having my good GPA, and I'm just afraid like that, oh, if my classes get harder, then like some of the things that people used to say about me, um, saying I couldn't go to college, be successful. When I was younger, people would always make comments like that. And like I said, my third grade teacher would make comments like that. And sometimes those comments can come up, and I put a lot of pressure on myself for that, like that reason, almost too much pressure sometimes, I feel like.
it's almost like validating that you have a right to be there too. I have that too.
Especially at the start of this year. I had a 3.7 cumulative GPA at my community college, and I have like a 3.6 here. I was like, oh, it's community college. There's no way I'm going to be able to get the grades I did. It's going to be harder here and stuff like that. It's definitely been a little bit of a step up in some courses and stuff like that, but I just had a lot of anxiety going into this year, especially too.
Yeah, I think for myself, I've experienced this quite a lot. I think, like what other people are saying, I feel like I can't fail. I feel like personally, like I can't fall down. Like I have to project like this confidence of like, I don't have bad days. Um, I think to do that, just for me personally, having a prosthetic, and I think the first time like a lot of people interact with me, they want to know like what I'm doing, and like sometimes I feel guilty by being like, yeah, I'm not really like involved in any like sports, because I think a lot of times people, who have prosthetics, it's like, oh, like you run track, like is it, nothing changed in your life? And I think for me, I was super athletic before having the amputation, and now, I mean, I'm less athletic. I do that less, but I still feel pressure that like that should still be the same, and that like I should keep my disability from keeping me down. But yeah, I think I oftentimes feel similar pressure to be an inspiration and to, treat it as if nothing has happened. Um, yeah, thank you all so much. Another question, have you experienced any challenges during the pandemic due to your disability?
Um, yeah, like I mean, I get a little more anxious going out, and I have OCD, so like the whole the idea of like being in a contagious state really makes me anxious. Like especially when I first started, like better now, but I mean I could not leave my house. I was so scared of getting sick, and while I'm still scared, I've learned better ways to cope with it and stuff. So that was probably like the biggest thing, was just like this constant overwhelming anxiety and obsessions and my compulsions, like just so much worse.
What was the question, Austin?
Yeah, have you experienced any challenges during the pandemic due to your disabilities?
I've been in my house since March on doctor's orders. I'm not allowed to leave because of my disabilities. If I was to catch COVID, even a mild part, it would be fatal for me. So I haven't been on campus this entire semester, and I actually kind of miss seeing it. So, and the same with everything else. Out like my husband will take me out for a drive, and I'm not allowed to actually leave the vehicle. So it's kind of nice to see the trees through the window.
I definitely, especially at the start, it was really hard transition in the middle of the semester last year when the pandemic picked up in March. It was a struggle for me to do all my classes online. I feel like some classes work really well online, like English classes and certain different like reading classes or something. But if it's like a math or science class, I don't understand it fully and I have to be there in person. My lab went online last semester and it was really hard. Luckily, my lab this semester is or it's like partial in class and like at home, like part of the time. I just feel like sometimes I can't struggle as much in some of my I can't focus as much, I mean, in my online classes as I could in person, pretty much.
Next question, what is something you wish instructors do to better assist you in the classroom, if anything?
I think I wish they knew like the effect their attendance policies have on me. While part of my accommodation is I have disability absences, so like, they still have to help me on the days that I'm gone. Their attendance policies where you have to show up to get your points, those are really hard because I have all these doctor's appointments. There are days when I just physically cannot make it to class, and then I get counted off, and it's just not fair. And I think if they knew that there's a better way to do their attendance policies where they were for extra credit, they're still giving the students that incentive to go to class if they think that their students need it, but then it's not harming me. And I wish professors could understand that. I think that's like a really big impact that they could have if they would just change that one thing.
I'm gonna go with a lot of what Sydney said. I think something that would help is professors, faculty, staff to understand and recognize that students with disabilities, we may go at a little different pace than the general population. So processing or speeds, or just the fact that I can't get from one side of campus to the other side in 15 minutes. It's just physically impossible for me. But yet, when it happens, I get penalized for it. And I don't feel that's right. I really don't. Like a lot of the classes, especially now with Zoom, I struggle. Even though we have the closed captioning that happens at the moment, one of my professors talks so fast that the closed captioning can't keep up with them, so a lot is missed. And when I ask him to repeat, it's the same. And this is one of the professors that I don't get the notes for. So it makes it difficult. And I think if professors know a little bit more about the different types of disabilities and what they actually are entail, it would help. It would really help.
I would kind of agree with the note-taking thing. I haven't had many professors that haven't provided like me PowerPoints and stuff like that, but I definitely think that it should be universal that all professors should be able or should print out have their PowerPoints printed out so students can bring them to class and write on them personally. I think it just makes it easier for me and stuff like that. I've had classes in the past where it's hard to read my notes sometimes and everything, and the professor doesn't provide like PowerPoints. So it's the one thing I would say.
Are there any questions in the chat?
We do not have any questions right now.
Okay. Feel free, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Anyone interested in any questions? We'll just keep trucking along. Next question, what has your experience been with out of classroom activities? Do you feel like they are accessible?
Other classroom activities it really just depends on what they are. If it's something physical, like, I mean, I always have to like plan ahead on if I'm gonna have to bring my like pain medicine for if I like, have this symptom or that symptom. There's also the idea of if I can even like physically do it, like out of classroom activities, like going out, like for a walk with friends, I have to like plan out if I even think I'm gonna be able to do it. And then there's like other things like if professors like assign, group stuff, you have to meet with your group, and then that just gives me like this overwhelming sense of anxiety, just like not having that like classroom structure for me to meet with people. That's like really nerve-wracking as someone with like an anxiety disorder. So other classroom experiences, like, I mean, some of them are like accessible, but like with the disability, you always have to like plan for if something goes wrong or if you're gonna even be able to do it in the first place. So like, yeah, they're accessible, but a lot of times you have to like tweak everything about it.
This semester, out of class activities have been extremely limited. Thankfully, there's Zoom. So the few clubs that I'm in, I can actually participate most of the time, unless they're doing like physical activities, like doing street cleanup or something like that. And then it's just impossible. But a lot of the other organizations that I actually want to be a part of, I can't, because they're like, oh, you have to be here physically sitting in the classroom. And I'm like, sorry, I can't do that. My life is a little more important than that. On campus, I think there's only Delta Alpha Pi that encourages students with disabilities to get involved. I'm not sure how the other activities and stuff are. But a lot of it is, a lot of them I've seen, they're very loud, usually in really large groups, and those with anxiety disorders or panic attacks, it's impossible to be part of it. That's my 2 cents.
I think I don't think they're always as accessible as they should be online, just because it's just different online. Lectures are different, and just stuff like different things like that. Or there's something about listening to a lecture on like my computer compared to being in there that it just doesn't reach the same level for me. When we do my lab class this year, my bio class, we do Fridays our in-person lab, and then like every other Friday it's online and in person. So one week I'll do in person, one week I'll do online. And when I do the online labs, I feel like I can't like grasp as much of what's happening and stuff like that. And I have to ask my professor a lot of questions and stuff too. And sometimes professors aren't the best at answering their emails, which is one of my pet peeves online, because I understand that they're busy and they might have a lot of students, but if we're online for a class and the only way I can communicate with you is through email and you're not answering my email, that's kind of concerning. Like this week I couldn't leave because my friend had COVID, so I was sending an email out to my professor, and he or she did not respond for 3 days, and I ended up taking the test anyways without getting one of the questions answered because she didn't answer her email. So
It's a lot. Happens to me too.
I think for myself, I think, yeah, I think like what Sydney was saying too, like I've been to events where there's a lot of like physical activity and I just really can't do them. And I think what's uncomfortable is like, I feel uncomfortable for saying like, hey, I can't do this. You know, it puts it on the student with a disability, like say, hey, I have a disability, I can't do this activity, or that be like a welcome weekend event. And I think that kind of rubs students with disabilities the wrong way, you know? If this is a welcome weekend event, this is where they're supposed to feel welcome for the first time, and that first experience being super uncomfortable for me personally, I think that's something that I don't think is always thought of when planning events is planning for students with disabilities. What do we do if someone who's blind comes to our event or has a physical limitation? Or even, a disability or you can't see. How do we have like ways of accommodating those stuff? For sure. Continuing on. So I know in the disability etiquette presentation, they talk about person first language and identity first language. So if you weren't a part of that, I'll just quickly explain it. So person first language would be saying person or before their disability. So for me, it would be like a person with an amputation. Identity first language is using that identity and the name. So amputee, that's kind of an example. So for all our panelists, do you have a preference between for yourself identifying person first language or identity first, or do you use them interchangeably?
I use them interchangeably. It just kind of depends on the way I'm talking. I go back and forth. So like for me, it really doesn't, I don't have a personal preference anyway.
Same here. I don't have preferences.
I think for me, my disability is all cognitive, so I can, I guess, hide it more if in some situations, if you know what I mean. It's sometimes it's just easier to do it that way, because if I disclose my disability, sometimes I feel like I'm making excuses, and I think people definitely professors, one of my professors one semester, I told him about like my disability and stuff like that and how much I was struggling on one of his assignments, and he was just like oh I don't understand it and stuff like that, and I just felt like I was making excuses, and it's just sometimes easier just to not like disclose it to people. I guess it'd be situationally for me.
Yeah, I think I'm similar to Dominic. I think it just depends. I think I'm more comfortable when I'm interacting with people with disabilities to say I'm an amputee. But when I'm interacting with other people, I tend to probably just say like I have an amputation or I have a prosthetic. But I think it depends too on like who you're interacting with, and where am I facing that identity as having a disability. Like at that moment, is that a core piece of who I am, or is it more just something that happened to me? And I think it depends too. I wasn't born with my disability, so I gained my disability over time. So I think that also makes me how I view my disability. Yeah, thank you for sharing. We've got a couple more questions. What was class like before you received accommodations through the Disability Resource Center?
Class before I got my accommodation, it sucked. It was so awful. I had this class and I loved the content so much, but the lectures, because it was an evening class, so we were there for 3 hours. And so my pain would just be like unbearable sitting in those like awful chairs for so long, because like I didn't have the accommodation where I could just like leave the classroom for like a minute if I needed to. I didn't have a note taker, so on this 3-hour lectures, my hand was just killing me. and my joints were just like so stiff at the end of every night. It was just unbearable. Her exams were all through a blue book, so, and they were long exams. I mean, I was writing like pages in that thing for like 2 hours, and I would just be like in so much pain by the end of the night. And so having a note taker now takes all of that pressure off of me. And so like I don't leave class like in pain anymore. So it's like it's just so much better now that I've gotten help with the DRC.
I guess the easiest way to explain it for me is before I had my accommodations, my GPA was a 2.1. So it wasn't very well. And then now with my accommodations, it's at 3.47. You know, it took a long time to get it up to there. I couldn't get into classrooms because I was in a wheelchair. I didn't have space in the classroom. So I'd be off in the corner, and then I couldn't hear what they were saying, which made it even worse. And taking exams were nerve-wracking. You have 5 pages of questions, and so I would get maybe half of them done in the short time that I had. And because I was rushing, lots of mistakes. It was bad. It was really, really bad. I ended up dropping out of school for quite a while because of it, because the pressure was so overwhelming.
Luckily, I've had accommodations throughout my whole college career. They caught my disability when I was, I think, in first grade. So I knew going into college that I was going to have to get some type of accommodations in college because I always had it throughout elementary, middle, and high school. So
Next question, how can people be advocates for you and others with disabilities?
I think part of it is understanding the disability, I guess, like with my friends and family, it would be such a big help if they could like research what I'm going through when I tell them. A simple like Google search of my condition would let them know like the symptoms I experiences, how it can affect me. And it takes the pressure off of me to like educate them about what it is. So that they know what I'm going through, they can help back up my experiences and help me like, you know, when I go to the doctor, they can come with me, they can say, no, that's how it affects her. And it just gives like another voice to like my understanding.
I agree with Sydney. Research and knowledge really helps. Another one is, you know, don't be afraid to ask if you don't know what something is, or if you want to help someone, ask, you know, because more than likely, if you actually ask someone, they'll tell you about it. And if you assume, most times it's wrong, so then it just makes the situation worse.
I would say that people should go about it in a non-closed-minded mindset and just know that they could always learn more from. I've learned a lot just being in Delta Alpha Pi about like the disabilities that our panelists have faced and stuff like that. And it's really been an eye-opening experience for me. And just to like know there's so many people that have disabilities, and people like there's a lot of people that have disabilities that you can obviously see if they're in a wheelchair, if they're or if they have a prosthetic or something like that. But there's also different disabilities that people don't see always. And I think people need to realize that a little bit more. Also, like, I always love events like this, like in general. Just hearing other people's stories is, I don't want to say, I know some of you guys said that you don't want to be seen as an inspiration, but people that have disabilities face a lot of challenges in their life. a lot more than people think, and it's always inspiring to me to hear that people have overcome their challenges all the time and stuff like that. I love hearing stories like that. Also, obviously, you can join I'm just gonna plug our honor society here. You can obviously join Delta Alpha Pi too if that's your thing.
I think there's a difference between inspiring each other, because you have a disability and I have a disability, and it's easier to inspire each other to keep going. I think it's different than inspiring someone who doesn't have a disability. It's like it's a different mindset, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is just listening to people with disabilities. Trust them. They'll assume you would know more than they do about how they experience a disability. And just listening and asking. And I think that's a big thing that Carrie said too. Like personally, I'm very open about my disability. I'm very open to questions, but recognize that not everyone is like that. And if they say they don't want to talk about it, like don't take offense to that. So just be mindful and learn as much as you can. Internet's a great source, but then also if people are comfortable, listen to them, listen to their stories. Perfect. The last question we have: are there any last things you would like to say to the audience as it relates to disability?
I guess just whenever you're interacting with someone who has like a disability or chronic illness, if they open up to you about how it affects them personally or just like the struggles they're going through with it, be very mindful of what you're saying. Like I know like to tell someone to stay positive or just try not to focus on it is like a pretty common response, but you need to be aware of how that invalidates their feelings. So like just maybe like look into different ways of like how to validate someone by saying like I see that's really hard for you, thank you for sharing, or like asking how you can support someone with a disability. With my friends, like a lot of like whenever they do like listen to me, they've asked how they can help me or what I need in the moment if I'm not feeling good, and that was just like the biggest thing to me, and it meant so much to me. So if you're interacting with someone's disability, like validating their experience is like just such a big deal to them.
What if I go to someone and I'm talking with them just because I'm having a really rough time and I'm struggling, and I get told, oh, I can only imagine what you're going through, or I can sympathize. It's kind of do you actually understand? Can you actually put yourself in my skin and understand? I just need you to listen. Just open your ears and just listen and let me vent. Just let me lean on you for a little support. And I think it's like that regardless of the disability, whether it's invisible or otherwise. I think Dominic got kicked out. He's not in here anymore. Oh, there he is.
Sorry guys, my phone lagged out.
Oh, you're fine. Our last question is just: are there any last things you would like to say to the audience?
What's that?
Sorry. Are there any last things you would like to say to the audience?
Oh no, I think I talked a lot, I guess. I would say, like I was saying, that our if you have a disability, if you would like to join our honor society, you don't have to have a GPA requirement to get in the first initial level to be a member. Obviously, once you get, there's like 2 levels of membership and stuff like that. So once you have I think a 3-1 3-2 or something, you can be like have a position and stuff like that. But anyone, I just want to encourage anyone that feels like they're alone in their disability, they're not. And I think Delta Alpha Pi really helps that.
Delta Alpha Pi also encourages caretakers as well, because their position is one of the hardest ones. Having the disability is hard enough, but the person taking care of them, I can't imagine on that one. I really don't see how my husband can do it. So, your turn, Austin.
Yeah, I think I think I already kind of said my 2 cents, but just listen to people with disabilities and thank you for coming to this event. I think a big thing is, getting to know other people is understanding their experiences. We just thank you all so much for attending. Thank you all the members who are willing to share their experience. I know Carrie will be dropping a survey in the links or in the messages. So if you could fill that out, that would be awesome. And with that, I think we're done.
Austin, can I say one more thing? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to thank you for the work you did this week. I know it was probably challenging to get everything squared away. I know it takes a lot of planning and stuff like that. So I just wanted to thank you for this week.
Yeah, no, thank you, dude. Thank you all. It wasn't just me, there was a whole committee of people. So thank you so much for helping out and making this week a great week. And again, next semester we'll be having some more things. April 5th, that week, we'll have a couple events. So if you like what you heard this week, check us out next semester.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Delta Alpha Pi's general meeting is Monday at 6:30. Austin has flyers and stuff to hand out if you're interested.
Yeah. And without that, I know Dom also runs our social media account, so you might be able to post like a link if you're interested, and that'll have our information as well. Yeah, thank you all so much.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys. Have a good day.